Chapter 1. The Wrong Grave. The grave was too fresh. That was the first thing you noticed. Not the flowers too symmetrical, not the headstone already polished. No, it was the earth, still damp, still unsettled, like someone had buried more than just a body there. You crouch low. Fingers brush the edge of the disturbed soil. The night is windless, but the trees creak like bones turning in their sockets. Behind you, the gates of Sunny Point creak shut, locked, always locked now, because someone died again. Her name was Hester Argyle. And 2 days ago, she'd been alive, breathing, laughing, pacing the garden path with a cigarette she never lit. Now she was in the ground, laid to rest, in the same cemetery where her adoptive mother, Rachel Argyle, had been buried 2 years ago. Different cause of death, same style, same method, same message. You remember the body. She'd been found on the east lawn, mouth open in an O of shock. Her wrists bruised, her spine twisted slightly to the left, as if trying to crawl from something only she could see. Pinned to her dress was a note, justice wasn't served. That was all. No name, no signature, just a whisper from the past. You stand up and scan the horizon. No one, only fog rolling in from the moors, like a second skin over the earth. You told yourself you wouldn't get involved, that your part in the Argyle family's madness ended when you cleared Jacko's name. But then Hester died, and someone wanted you to see it. The coroner's report was thin. Asphyxiation, signs of restraint, no sexual assault, no robbery, just targeted violence, deliberate and precise. Like Rachel's, and everyone in the house acted surprised. Too surprised, like they were playing surprised. Leo Argyle was the first to call you. His voice is smooth, controlled, just like always. Dr. Calgary, forgive the intrusion, but I feel it's only proper that you know. Hester's been found, dead, I'm afraid. You'd stared at the phone for a full minute before responding. How? It was familiar, he said. And that was enough. You returned to Sunny Point that afternoon. Tina opened the door, eyes red, hands shaking, but not from grief, from anticipation. Like she'd been waiting for a shoe to drop, and now it had. You think it's starting again, she asked. It never ends. You said, now you stand before the grave. Dave, still no rain, just the heavy scent of wilted lilies and wet grass. You scan the inscriptions on nearby stones. Rachel, Jacko, and now Hester. 3 Argyles, 3 graves, but only 2 real killers. If the law is to be believed. You don't believe in the law anymore. Not here. Not in this house full of secrets that reek of polish and guilt. Someone's orchestrating this. It isn't a copycat. It's personal. And they want you involved. You light a cigarette, even though you don't smoke. It's habit now, like grief, like doubt, like guilt, that doesn't belong to you, but refuses to let go. A crow lands on Rachel's headstone. Its beady eyes reflect the moonlight, and you, watching, waiting, you say it aloud. Though no one's near, you buried the wrong body last time, and then you walk away from the grave, but not from the case, because whatever killed Rachel just started breathing again. Chapter 2. Everyone's guilty. They're all gathered in the drawing room when you return. The room smells like lemon polish and concealed panic. Leo sits in his usual armchair, legs crossed, hand on his chin, like he's conducting a board meeting, not mourning his daughter's death. Mickey paces near the window. Every few seconds, he looks at his reflection like it's someone else watching him. Tina sits stiffly on the edge of the settee, twisting a handkerchief into a rope. She hasn't spoken since the body was found. Mary and Philip Durant stand by the bar. Mary's eyes are bloodshot but dry. Philip grips his cane like he's waiting to strike something. You close the door behind you. The silence greets you like an old lover. Leo speaks first. I thought you might come. You don't reply. You take the armchair opposite him. Settle in. No introductions. Everyone knows who you are, what you did, and that you were the one who undid the tidy lie they'd all lived with for 2 years. Let's get to it. You said, who saw Hester last? Silence. Then Mickey. Voice brittle. She went for a walk. Said she needed air. What time? Just after 9. And when was she found? Mary answers, her voice a whisper. 10:30. In the garden. You let that hang, so she had an hour. Alone. In the dark. Same place her mother used to walk. Same way she died. Leo shifts in his chair. Coincidence? Surely. You look him dead in the eye. You still believe in those. Tension ripples through the room. Philip taps his cane twice on the floor. We're all suspects now. Isn't that what you're saying? No, you replied. You were always suspicious. You just forgot. Tina stood up abruptly. Charlie. She was scared. She said, all heads turned to her. Hester. She said things about how Rachel used to make her feel like a stranger in her own house. Mickey scoffs. Rachel made us all feel that way. Controlling, cold, obsessed with gratitude. She never let us forget we were adopted. Mary flinches. She loved us. She owned us. Mickey snaps. Leo raises a hand. His voice is calm. Too calm. That's enough. You study him. His posture hasn't changed since you arrived. Neither has his gaze. Detached. Analytical. Like a man solving a problem that no longer includes emotion. You told me over the phone her death was familiar. You said, what did you mean? Leo clasps his hands together. The position of her body, the note, the manner of death. Details only the killer would know. You said softly. He looks at you, unblinking. Precisely. You stand. I want to see the note. Leo nods at Philip, who retrieves a clear plastic evidence bag from the mantel. You take it. Simple black letters, typed. One line. Justice wasn't served. You flip it over. Blank. Was this the only copy? Mary nods. It was pinned to her blouse. With a safety pin. You raise an eyebrow. Like Rachel's. Silence. Mickey mutters. Yeah. You pocket the note. No one objects. You're not the police. But in this house, the police mean nothing. Truth has to be forced. Like breathing into drowning lungs. You walk to the window. The fog is thick now, covering the lawn, the trees, the garden, like the house is floating in nothing. You turn back to them. I'm not here for closure. I'm not here for grief. I'm here because someone in this room thinks they're smarter than the rest. Someone killed again to say something. No one speaks. I'll find out who. And when I do, you smile. It's not kind. They won't need a grave this time. Chapter 3, the letter she never sent you found it by accident. That's how truth usually surfaces in this house uninvited. Tina shows you to Hester's bedroom. She's quiet, lingering at the door before slipping away like guilt in bare feet. The room is frozen at times, bed half made, ashtray full, a record still on the turntable, Eileen Joyce, Chopin nocturnes, the kind of music you can bleed into. You don't touch anything at first. Let the room breathe. Let it whisper what it remembers. Then you see it, that a yellow envelope tucked beneath A stack of fashion magazines on the dresser, unsealed, unstamped, but addressed Jacko Argyle. HMP Drymouth. Your breath catches. She never sent it. Couldn't. Jacko had been dead for 2 years. Still, the letter was dated last week. You pull it out. Be careful not to smudge the ink. Hester's handwriting is frantic, slanted, the kind of writing that happens when the mind outruns the hand. Jacko, I don't know if this matters anymore, but I'm starting to think you weren't lying. Maybe you really weren't there that night. Maybe you didn't kill her. But someone did. And I think I know who. The way he looks at us. The way he speaks like he's in control of something we're too scared to understand. I thought I could live with the silence. But I can't. I heard it. I see it. And I know now she made him choose. I think it's time I told someone. Even if it means the whole thing burns down. You read it twice. She made him choose. Rachel. And he. Climb. You look around the room again. Nothing out of place, but everything wrong. The books are alphabetized. The shoes in perfect pairs. But in the trash bin, a crumpled tissue with lipstick. Bright red. Not Hester's shade. You pocket it. You leave the letter where it is. No need to make your presence known yet. Downstairs. The house feels more alive than downstairs. Voices behind closed doors. Floorboards creaking. Someone practicing a lie in front of a mirror. You step out into the hallway and run into Mickey. Eyes bloodshot. Jaw tight. He looks at you like he's sizing up whether to throw a punch or a question. You think it was one of us, he asks. You don't blink. I think it still is, he scoffs. Everyone thinks I'm the angry one. That I must have snapped. You say nothing. I didn't kill her, he said, too quickly. But I could have. That part rings true. She said things before she died. He added, to me, about Rachel, about Leo. Things that didn't make sense until now. What kind of things? He hesitates. She said Rachel. Forced him. Forced him to what? He looks at you. Dead in the eyes. Hey, choose between being a husband or being a father. Shake Shom. He walks off without another word. You step outside. The garden is damp. Smells of mulch and memory. You follow the path Hester will have walked. Where Rachel used to sit under the cedar. There's a broken teacup near the bench. You kneel. Embedded in the earth beneath it, another envelope, waterlogged, edges curling. No name, inside a photo. Rachel, Leo, and a boy barely 12, Mickey. Rachel's hand on the boy's shoulder. Leo's smile strained. Behind them, the same cedar tree. On the back of the photo, in faded pencil, you don't bury the truth. You plant it. You pocket the photo. Someone's playing a game, but it's not new. This game's been going for years. The only difference now, the stakes are finally fatal. Chapter 4, No Alibi for the Innocent. They all had alibi. Too neat, too polished, too synchronized. Like choreography from a dance they never practiced, but always knew by heart. You sit at the end of the dining table with a notebook that won't stay closed. Everyone else files in slowly, silently, as if summoned by something darker than your voice. Leo takes the head of the table. Naturally, Mickey slouches on one side, arms crossed like a teenager at a funeral. Tina sits closest to the door. Mary poured herself a drink before even looking at you. Philip watches you like a chess player, studying a pawn that thinks it's a queen. You clear your throat. Let's talk about last Thursday. Eyes flick, bodies shift. No one breathes. I want to hear where each of you was between 9 and 10:30. Leo doesn't miss a beat. I was in my study, reading, alone. Of course. No hesitation, no guilt, just certainty. The kind that comes from decades of lying to yourself. You move on. Mickey, kitchen, drinking, alone. I thought this was a murder case, not an AA meeting. You don't flinch. Did anyone see you? Cook had gone home. Housekeeping was off. So, full? He shrugs. Didn't think I'd need an audience. Tina speaks up. Her voice is thin. I was in my room. Reading, too. Did you leave at all? She hesitates. That's all the answer you need. I went to get tea, she admitted. What time? I don't remember. Try. Around 9:15 maybe. Did you see Hester? She swallows. No. But I heard the back door. Opening or closing? Closing. I think. Mary finally speaks, swirling the amber liquid in her glass like it might hold the answers. I was giving Philip a bath. You raise an eyebrow. Really? He'd pulled a muscle. Couldn't get in or out alone. Philip nods. Bit humiliating. But yes, so both of you were together the whole time. Mary nods. Philip doesn't. She stepped out for a moment. He said, How long, you ask? 10 minutes. Maybe 15. Mary freezes. You never said that. Didn't think it mattered. You lean back in your chair. Everyone's almost accounted for. Everyone has a mostly credible alibi. That's what bothers you. They're too complete. Like someone heard this. You reach into your coat, pull out Hester's unsent letter, lay it gently on the table. No one moves. She was going to talk. You said, about Rachel, about Leo. Leo doesn't blink. That letter proves nothing. No, you said, but her death does. You stand, walk slowly behind each of them. If you all had perfect alibis, then no one killed her. And if no one kills her, you stop behind Leo, then she's still alive. Silence. Even the house holds its breath. But she's not. You say, she's dead. And that means someone's lying. You move to the window. The fog hasn't lifted. Neither has the tension. You didn't just lose a sister, or a daughter, or a scapegoat. You lost the only person who was ready to say what you were all too afraid to admit. You turn around. Someone in this house has blood on their hands, and someone else helped wash it off. Leo stands slowly. That's enough. You meet his gaze, and for the first time, you see something beneath the polish, something hungry, something used to control. You nod once. You're right. We're done for now. But when I come back, I'm not asking questions. I'll be naming names. Chapter 5. That which burns twice. The smell hits you before the memory does. Char and ash, and something older wood that burned long ago, but never forgot how. You're in the old music room, unused for years. Sheet music still littering the cabinet drawers. A violin with a broken bridge rests on a dusty chair. No one told you to come here, but the house did. You open the curtains halfway. The daylight slithers through like a reluctant witness. Your eye catches it. On the far wall, a scar. Deep and jagged in the wallpaper. Fire damage. It had been painted over once poorly, but the shape remains. A burn, long and thin, like a vertical scream. You brush your fingers along the edge. Under the faded cream paint, there's soot, still black, still fresh enough to stain. Someone wanted this forgotten, but fire has memory. And so do you, later. You ask the housekeeper, Mrs. Emmett. Old, sharp, not one to be started. She wipes her hands on her apron and stares at you a beat too long. Wasn't my place to mention it. Mention what? The fire. When? 7 years ago. Maybe 8. How bad? Just that wall. Just that room. What caused it? She shrugs, but there's a tremble in it. Is one of the children? We never knew which. You stare at her. You mean one of the Argyles started it. That's what Rachel believes. What did Leo think? Mrs. Emmett purses her lips. He believed in discipline. Which child? Ask Leo. You already know the answer. You just want him to say it. You find Leo in his study. Of course. The same chair, the same calm. Even grief can't touch his rituals. He shrieks. You hold up the photo, the one from the garden. Hester's hiding place. He barely looks at it. Where did you find that? Buried under the cedar. That's private property. Everything buried eventually turns public. He frowns. You're digging too much. You didn't bury her. You said... He looks up. Excuse me, Hester. You didn't bury her. Not really. She was trying to speak, and someone put her back in the ground. You dropped the photo on his desk. What was the fire? Leo's silence is too measured to be denied. Old news, he said at last. Tell it anyway. He exhales through his nose. Mickey was 12. Angry. Rachel had taken something from him. A privilege. I don't recall what. He lit a curtain with a match. Just to frighten her, he said. But it caught. She made us clean it up. Quietly. No police. We didn't want a record. You mean she didn't? He nods, slowly. Rachel believed in washing laundry inside the house. You lean closer. Did you? He holds your gaze for a second too long. I believe in protecting my family. You nod. Even when they killed each other. That gets a flicker. A twitch of the eye. Do you think Mickey killed Hester? He asks. Do you? Leo doesn't answer. He doesn't have to. Night falls fast now. Outside. The wind has teeth. You return to the music room alone. Flashlight in hand. The burn on the wall calls like an old scar, aching in the rain. You scrape a bit of the surface away gently. Underneath the wallpaper writing. Faint. Etched in pencil. Almost gone. But still there, she sees everything. Even when she closes her eyes. We're never free. You stare at it until the flashlight dims. Until your breath becomes a fog in front of you. Until you realize Rachel Argyle may be dead, but her grip still burns. Chapter 6. The house remembers. The house creaks differently at night. You thought it was windy. It isn't. It's the sound of memory. You wander the second floor, like a man searching for something he dropped in another life. The corridors are too narrow. The wallpaper is too floral. The lighting too yellow, like the whole place is sick with nostalgia. You stop at the door to Rachel's old room. Still locked. Still off limits. Leo keeps the key in his desk drawer. You took it 3 hours ago. Now, you hold it in your palm like a trigger. You hesitate, not out of fear, but out of respect for how easily the past becomes present when you stop keeping it out. You slide the key in. It clicks like a whisper, saying yes. The room is untouched. Bed made, curtains drawn. Her perfume still clings to the corners. A ghost that won't let go. You cross to the dressing table. Her things are still there, brushes. Silver comb. A small mirror cracked in the corner, like it once saw too much and flinched. There's a diary. You don't open it. Not yet. Instead, you sit. The air is heavy here. Like the house sighs when you're inside her space. You whispered aloud. What did you see? Rachel. And for a second, just a second, you imagine her voice. Everything. You open the drawer. Inside photos. Dozens of them. Some labeled, most not. Rachel with Leo. Rachel with the children. Rachel alone. But one stands out. Rachel with Arthur Calgary. You're young. In profile. She's staring at you, her hand on your shoulder like possession. On the back, a single line in ink. He doesn't know what he's starting. Your skin chills. You flip through the others until you find Hester. A candid shot. Not posed. She's crying. Rachel's arm is extended, either reaching or pushing. Hard to tell. You turn it over. Another note. The week must be reshaped. You pocket the photo. Step back into the hallway. The air seems colder now. The house is reacting. Not just to you, but to the doors you're opening. You pass Mickey on the stairs. He's drunk. Again? He slumps against the rail and grins like a man who hasn't earned it. She used to watch me sleep, he mutters. Who? Rachel. Said it was motherly. He laughs bitterly. Know what she whispered once? You don't answer. One day you'll thank me. He hiccups. Still waiting. What about Hester, you ask? She wasn't like the rest of us. He slurs. She remembered things we tried to forget. Did she tell you something you press? He rubs his face. She was going to. Said she found something that would make Leo squirm. What was it? He looks up, sobering just a little. A letter from Rachel, written before she died. Where is it? She kept it somewhere secret, like a weapon. Where? He shrugs. She didn't say, but she called it the proof. You leave him there, because now you know there's something missing. And the house knows where it is. Back in your room, you sit at the desk and stare at the photographs. Each one is a piece of a map, but not to a killer. To her, Rachel, the manipulator, the keeper of guilt, the mother who owned her children, likes chess pieces. You light a match. Let it burn until the sulfur stings your eyes. Then blow it out. One word lingers in the smoke. Proof you don't sleep because you're not sure that you'll wake up with the same thoughts you went to bed with. Because you know now, this house doesn't forget, and neither will you. Chapter 6. The house remembers. The house creaks differently at night. You thought it was windy. It isn't. It's the sound of memory. You wander the second floor like a man searching for something he dropped in another life. The corridors are too narrow. The wallpaper is too floral. The lighting too yellow, like the whole place is sick with nostalgia. You stop at the door to Rachel's old room. Still locked, still off limits. Leo keeps the key in his desk drawer. You took it 3 hours ago. Now, you hold it in your palm like a trigger. You hesitate, not out of fear, but out of respect for how easily the past becomes present when you stop keeping it out. You slide the key in. It clicks like a whisper saying yes. The room is untouched. Bed made, curtains drawn. Her perfume still clings to the corners. A ghost that won't let go. You cross to the dressing table. Her things are still there: brushes, silver comb, a small mirror cracked in the corner, like it once saw too much and flinched. There's a diary. You don't open it. Not yet. Instead, you sit. The air is heavy here, like the house sighs when you're inside her space. You whispered aloud. What did you see, Rachel? And for a second, just a second, you imagine her voice. Everything. You open the drawer. Inside photos. Dozens of them. Some labeled. Most not. Rachel with Leo. Rachel with the children. Rachel alone. But one stands out. Rachel with Arthur Calgary. You're young. In profile. She's staring at you, her hand on your shoulder like possession. On the back, a single line in ink. He doesn't know what he's starting. Your skin chills. You flip through the others until you find Hester. A candid shot, not posed. She's crying. Rachel's arm is extended, either reaching or pushing. Hard to tell. You turn it over. Another note. The week must be reshaped. You pocket the photo. Step back into the hallway. The air seems colder now. The house is reacting. On them, not just to you, but to the doors you're opening. You pass Mickey on the stairs. He's drunk. Again, he slumps against the rail and grins like a man who hasn't earned it. She used to watch me sleep, he mutters. Who? Rachel. Said it was motherly. He laughs bitterly. Know what she whispered once? You don't answer. One day you'll thank me. He hiccups. Still waiting? What about Hester, you ask? She wasn't like the rest of us. He slurs. She remembered things we tried to forget. Did she tell you something you press? He rubs his face. She was going to. Said she found something that would make Leo squirm. What was it? He looks up, sobering just a little. A letter from Rachel, written before she died. Where is it? She kept it somewhere secret, like a weapon. Where? He shrugs. She didn't say, but she called it the proof. You leave him there, because now you know there's something missing. And the house knows where it is. Back in your room, you sit at the desk and stare at the photographs. Each one is a piece of a map. But not to a killer. To her, Rachel, the manipulator, the keeper of guilt. The mother who owned her children likes chess pieces. You light a match. Let it burn until the sulfur stings your eyes. Then blow it out. One word lingers in the smoke. Proof. You don't sleep because you're not sure you'll wake up with the same thoughts you went to bed with. Because you know now this house doesn't forget. And neither will you. Chapter 8. The Journal of Control. The truth has a weight. You feel it in your pocket, the letter signed R.A., like a stone tied to your spine. But it's not enough. A woman like Rachel Argyle didn't trust just words. She trusted documentation, receipts, written dominance. And according to Tina, she left a record of everything. You just have to find it. You search Rachel's bedroom again. Not the drawers. Too obvious. Not the wardrobe. Too easy. You pull the desk away from the wall. Nothing. You lie flat and check beneath the bed. Dust. Hairpin. Lost coin. Then you notice the floorboards near the fireplace. One is newer. Slightly off color. You tap it. Hollow. You pry it up. A small tin box. Locked. Old-fashioned clasp. No key. You take it to the desk, grab a hairpin from the dresser, and work at it like memory picking at guilt. The lid pops. Inside, a red leather journal, embossed with gold initials. Go out. You open it, and Rachel Argyle begins to speak. Resents me. I see it in her eyes. She will never forgive me for what I took from her. But forgiveness was never my goal. Control was. Isha is pliable, too soft. I worry she'll dissolve under pressure. She needs direction, not affection. P loathes me, but he's useful. His spine is borrowed, but still functional when prodded. H worries me. She watches too closely. She remembers things others forget. Mickey unstable. His anger is an inheritance I cannot let him spend. I must keep him contained. You flip forward. Jacko lied. I know it. He wasn't here, but I let him take the blame because someone had to, and the alternative is unthinkable. Leo would never forgive me. The ink scratches across the page like regret being weaponized. You close the journal. The house seems quieter, as if even the walls are holding their breath. You hear a step behind you. Turn, climb. He's in the doorway, calm, too calm. Looking for ghosts, he asks. No. You said, just answers. And did you find them? You hold up the journal. She wrote it all down. He walked slowly, like a panther dressed in tweed. Did she write who killed her? You shake your head. Not directly, but she pointed out. He raises a brow. At whom? Everyone. Especially you. Leo smiles. Tired? Cold? Rachel was many things. Honest wasn't one of them. She said you knew the truth, and that you let someone else burn for it. He walks to the fireplace, lights a match. Careful. You say, why? Because fire doesn't forget. He lets the match burn down to his fingers. Then drops it. We all do what we must to survive. He says, she did. I did. And maybe Hester tried. What are you saying? Leo turns to you. Be careful with the past, especially when it's written by someone who built their power on fear. He walks out, leaving the scent of sulfur behind him. You sit alone in the dim light. The journal opens in front of you. Rachel's voice like a noose tightening around every page. She didn't just know the truth. She engineered it. Jacko was the scapegoat, but someone else, someone she protected. That's the real secret. And Rachel took it to the grave. Unless Hester found it and died for it. You run your fingers over the next page. Rachel's handwriting has shifted. Messier, rushed. If anything happens to me, it was planned. They'll deny it. But the guilt will show. It always does. Watch Mickey's hands, Philip's eyes, Mary's voice, and Leo's silence. You close the journal. Tina was right. This house doesn't need ghosts. It is one. Chapter 9. Voices behind glass. The house is a cage now, but the bars aren't made of iron. They're made of glances across breakfast, of footsteps in the hallway, of teacups set too quietly on polished wood. Everyone's pretending not to hear the ticking, but it's there, loud, steady, like a countdown to something they can't delay anymore. You find Mary in the greenhouse. She's pruning roses with precision that borders on surgical. The glass panels are fogged, the light soft and diffused, like a dream you can't wake from. She doesn't look up when you enter. Lovely morning, she said flatly. Depends on what you find growing. You answer. She snips another stem. You've been busy, so have you. You said, holding up the journal. Her hands freeze. Where did you get that? Where Rachel left it. Hidden in the floor, like a secret too dangerous for daylight. Then you shouldn't have found it. Why? Because it speaks the truth. Mary turns to face you. No fear in her eyes, just exhaustion. Rachel didn't record the truth. She recorded leverage. Leverage against whom? Against all of us. She believed control was love. That fear was safety. You step closer, and now she's dead. And someone decided that was safer. A beat passes. You drop your voice. Did you? She exhales. No. But I wasn't surprised when she died. Does that make me guilty? It makes you human. She sets down the shears. Philip, he hated her, but he needed her. She knew it, twisted it. And Mickey, he worshipped her, even when he hated her for it. And Leo, Mary hesitates. He was never the same after Jacko. He started locking doors, checking windows, like guilt had hands and he was waiting to feel them around his throat. Did he know Jacko didn't do it? I think he suspects. But suspicion is easier than certainty. You nod, slowly. Did Hester know? Mary looks down at her roses. She knew too much. And not enough. That's a dangerous combination. You return to the parlor. Philip is there, playing the piano. Badly. Notes missing. Fingers stiff. You watch him finish the phrase and slam the lid shut. You're not a guest, he mutters. You're a storm. Storms clear the air. You said, they also kill crops. You sit across from him. Tell me about the night Rachel died. He flinches. You want me to remember the worst night of my life. You remember it every time you limp. He stares hard at you. I was in bed. Mary helped me. She always does. But she left. And I sat. Only for a minute. Long enough. For what? For murder, he scoffs. You think she killed Rachel? I think someone did. And you're not helping. Philip runs a hand through his thinning hair. Do you know what it's like to depend on someone who ignores you? Yes. Then you know what it's like to want them dead. Even if you'd never do it. You go upstairs, past Mickey's room. The door is open. He's inside, sitting on the floor, staring at a photograph. Hester, he doesn't look up. She said she'd found the truth. He mumbled. She did. She said it would break everything. You kneel? She trusts you. He finally meets your eyes, and you see at the crack, the thing beneath his anger. She said Rachel lied about Jacko, that it was someone else. Did she say who? He nods. But she made me promise. What? Not to say until I had proof. And do you? He lifts the photo. On the back, written in Hester's sharp handwriting, he took the silence as permission. He'll do it again. You swallow. Who? Climb. The house groans as the wind rattles the windows. Then the journal, the photo, the confession. The past is surfacing, gasping for air. And soon, someone is going to drown. Chapter 10. The silence that screams. The wind outside howls like something wounded. Inside, the house holds its breath. You sit at Rachel's desk again. The journal open beside you. The photo with Hester's words turning soft at the corners. He took the silence as permission. He'll do it again. You don't need to ask who he is anymore. Climb. Everything in this house points back to him. The orchestrator, the conductor of silence. You flip through the journal, looking for the moment Rachel stopped writing like a mother and started writing like a prisoner. You find it halfway through. I no longer sleep. Leo comes in late. Sometimes he watches me. Other times, he speaks nonsense things. I don't know if he's dreaming or reminds. Once, I woke to him standing over me with a letter opener. When I spoke his name, he smiled and said, "Just measuring." I laughed. He didn't. Your hands tighten around the spine of the book. Downstairs, the Argyles are gathered. A rare thing. Climb at the head of the drawing room, untouched by the draft cold slipping through the old windows. Mary on the settee, pale and too still. Philip by the fireplace, hands shaking when he thinks no one's looking. Mickey sprawled in a chair like a wolf cage too long. Tina beside the bookshelf, arms folded, clutching something in her coat pocket. You step in. The air shifts, even without speaking. They know something's about to fracture. I know who killed Rachel, you said. Silence. A heavy, awful kind. Leo tilts his head. Then say it. No. I want you to. Leo's smile is slight. That's not how justice works. Neither is letting your son hang for a crime he didn't commit. You toss the journal onto the table. She wrote everything. Names, fears, nightmares. All of them led to you. Leo's eyes darken. Do you think I'm afraid of ink? No, but I think you're afraid of memory. You turn to the others. Rachel knew Leo was dangerous. She hinted that he killed her, or that he would if given reason. What reason? Mary asked. Voice hoarse? You answer without blinking. She was going to leave him. Take everything. House, name, power. That's a lie. Leo snapped. Is it because Hester knew? And now she's dead? The room freezes. No one speaks. Then Mickey stands. He's right. What are you saying? Tina whispers. I saw Leo the night Rachel died, standing in the hallway, watching her door, holding something metal. Why didn't you say anything? Because he raised me, Mickey says, and I thought I owed him silence. Leo's voice is flat. You owed me loyalty. I gave it, and Hester died for it. Philip steps back, jaw tight. Mary is trembling now. Tina opens her coat and pulls out a folded piece of paper. Rachel's will, she says. The updated one. I found it. She lays it on the table. You read it aloud. In the event of my death, I leave control of the estate not to my husband, Leo, but to Hester Argyle, whom I trust above all others. The silence explodes. Leo lunges for the will, but Mickey blocks him. You killed her. Mickey growls. No, Leo said. I protect this family. By burying it alive, you step between them. No more games. Leo looks at you. Something ancient and cold in his eyes. You want a confession. I want the truth. He exhales. I didn't kill her with my hands. Then how? I let it happen. A beat. A scream in stillness. What do you mean? She had enemies. Inside this house. I told her. One day, she'd pushed too far. So you stood by. He nods. Sometimes absence is a weapon. You call the police. No one stops you. The family stands silent as the house groans around them. Leo doesn't run. He simply returns to his study and waits, like he always has, because control, once lost, never returns quietly. And justice, like truth, doesn't knock, it breaks in. Chapter 11. The ashes beneath the carpet. The police arrive just after dusk. Their boots echo across the polished floors, like judgment given form. They don't rush. They know the type of crime that lingers. This isn't passion. It's heritage. A rot passed down like furniture. Leo goes with them quietly. No handcuffs. Just silence and a coat too clean for confession. The house watches him leave, not with sorrow, with relief. But relief carries its own price. You sit in Rachel's chair in the study. The others scatter like leaves after a storm. No one wants to be in the same room with the truth. You do, because you know it's not over. Not yet. Leo didn't slit Rachel's throat. He didn't smother her in the dark or poison her whiskey. But he permitted it, and permission, in this house, is compliance. You reach for the fireplace poker. Behind the grate, the ash is uneven. You dig, fingertips blackened, breathing thick with soot and memory. And there it is, a piece of burned parchment, the edge of a photograph. You pull it out carefully. It's the rest of the image Hester had shown Mickey, the original, uncropped. Rachel and Leo. But as this time, another figure stands in the background, eyes shadowed, but unmistakable. Philip. You call Mickey. He comes quickly, jaw tight, eyes rimmed red. You lay the photo on the desk. Look again. He leans in, freezes. That's not possible. Rachel wrote about manipulation, about someone who played weakness like a mask. You think, Philip? I think he hated her more than any of you, but couldn't act without help. On toll. Mickey rubs his face. You're saying Leo let it happen. But Philip wanted it. You nod. Rachel's journals show fear, but also obsession. She watched Philip, feared what desperation could push him to. He couldn't even walk without her help, but he could crawl. He could plan. Mickey exhales slowly. So Leo's in jail for something Philip started. discarded, and we're left with pieces. You confronted Philip the next morning. He's in his room. The curtains drawn. The air stale with old smoke. You lied. You say, he doesn't look up. About what? About where you were the night Rachel died. I was in bed. This is a ball. Mary left. You were alone. What are you accusing me of? You toss the photo on his lap. He stares, and in the stillness, something dies in his face. It wasn't supposed to happen like that, he whispered. Tell me. I just wanted her to understand what she did to me, to all of us. So you confront her. He nods. She laughed, said I was too broken to matter, that she should have returned me. Then I shoved her. How hard? Hard enough. Did you mean to? No. But I didn't stop her from falling either. You sit down, and Leo, he found me, saw the blood, told me to leave it. He'd handle it. And he did. He said the family couldn't survive another scandal, that Jacko's arrest was convenient. You let your brother die. Philip looks away. So did Leo. So did Rachel. Outside, the rain begins, soft at first, then heaviest. The house creaks. You open the window. Let the air in. Let the ghosts out. Because now the silence isn't hiding anything. It's just silence. And for the first time since you arrived, that might be enough. Chapter 12. Dust settles, but never disappears. Morning comes late. The sky is thick with gray, neither storm nor calm. Just the kind of overcast that swallows light and hope in equal measure. You walk the halls of Sunny Point one last time. The house feels hollow, not empty, hollow, like it's been scooped out by grief and packed again with lies. Downstairs, Mary is drinking tea like it's medicine. She doesn't ask what happened to Philip. You don't offer. Some truths settle on the tongue like acid. Will they come for him? She asks finally. They might. Should I stop them? You look at her. She's not trembling anymore. Would you? She doesn't answer. And in her silence, you find the answer anyway. Philip hasn't left his room. He won't. The photo sits by his bed. Rachel's face burned along the edge. Hester's note folded beside it. Now an elegy. You step in without knocking. Do you want to tell them? He doesn't look up. Would it change anything? Jacko's name. Hester's death. Yours. He laughs. Dry. Hollow. I'm already buried. Then give the others a chance to breathe. Philip nods once. I'll write it down. Mickey stands at the window when you find him, watching rain slide down the glass like ghosts trying to escape. He did it, didn't he? Yes. And Leo let him. Yes. Mickey nods. And we're just supposed to keep living. You're supposed to stop dying by silence. He turns. Eyes not angry now, just tired. Hester died for truth. She deserved better. Then give her justice. By evening, the police returned. Not for Leo. For Philip, he goes quietly, wheeled out under gray skies. No drama, just inevitability. Leo's charges are adjusted. Not murderer now, just accessory. The kind that dresses itself in civility and lets others dirty their hands. Mary walks you to the gate. Thank you, she says. For what? For forcing the truth out. Even if it didn't save us. The truth never saves. You say. It just reveals what was already dead. She nods. Rain in her hair. Eyes rimmed red, but clear. Will you come back? Only if the ghosts call. You turn and walk into the wet. Behind you, the house breathes. Not relief, no regrets, just breath. Because, after everything, after lies and letters, screams and silence, it's still standing. But that doesn't mean it's whole. and it never will be. Chapter 13. The Man Who Left with Shadows. You don't pack much, just the journal, the photo, and the rain that clings to your coat like a second skin. The road away from Sunny Point winds like a memory familiar, unwanted, treacherous. You don't look back because there's nothing behind you but echoes and rots. But even as your boots press into wet gravel, you feel it. You're not alone. At the station, Leo sits in a back room, released, but not solved. You agreed to meet before you leave, for closure, for answers. For the kind of confession that doesn't come in courtrooms. He's still in his tailored suit, still smells of tobacco and quiet control. But the shadows around his eyes have changed. They no longer guard secrets. They guard shame. So, he says, "You got what you came for." "I didn't come for this." "Didn't you?" "You sit," Philip confessed. He always did lack subtlety. "And you let Jacko die." He nods. "I did." "You let the silence sit." Uncomfortable. Alive. "Why?" Leo sighs. "Rachel wasn't wrong about our children. She just didn't know what to do with the truth. So she became their warden. She became their mirror." Thank you. "And you became their executioner." He shrugs. "No, I just let the sentence play out." "That's cowardice. That's family." You lean forward. "You let two of your children die. One literally, one slowly, and the others still breathing, still broken." Leo rubs his temple. "I thought silence would protect them." "It didn't." "No," he said. "It just delayed the collapse." You stand. They'll never forgive you. "They don't have to." He looks up. "Will you?" You pause. "Then answer honestly." "I'm not here to forgive. I'm here to remember." And with that, you leave. Outside, the rain has stopped, but the clouds remain. You light a cigarette. The smoke tastes like burnt paper and old ghosts. You think of Rachel, of Jacko, of Hester, of the things we bury, and the truths that claw their way out anyway. You think of Sunny Point, a house full of orphans dressed as heirs, and one by one, they all inherited the same thing, guilt. You walk to the platform, train approaching, steam rising like absolution. But you know better. There's no cleansing, only movement, only momentum. Because some houses never forget. Some names stain even when whispered, and some burdens aren't meant to be dropped. Chapter 14. Echoes don't die quietly. The train rattles forward, each mile pulling you from the wreckage. But not free. You don't sleep. You don't read. You just watch the landscape bleed past in streaks of gray and green. Because the mind doesn't need scenery. It needs answers. And some of yours are still missing. 3 days later, you find yourself in a small coastal town, a nowhere place with peeling paint and silent tides. Aisha. But you're not here for peace. You're here because of Tina. Her silence at Sunny Point hadn't been apathetic. It was fear of what she knew, of what she almost said. You find her in a library, among rows of forgotten history. She doesn't look surprised, just resigned. "I knew you'd come." You saw more than you said. Everyone does. They just pretend they didn't. You sit beside her. What did you see that night? Tina closes the book she's holding. It's not a novel. It's a record. Family court? Adoption proceedings? Rachel's old ghosts? Codified in ink? Philip wasn't alone. Who else? Rachel called me that afternoon, asked me to come early. She sounded scared. And when I arrived, she was arguing with someone in the study. Philip, no, someone else. She hesitates. Mickey. The name drops like a stone in still water. You feel the ripple in your ribs. You're sure? I only heard his voice, but it wasn't anger. It was desperation. Why didn't you say anything? Because when Rachel died, everyone needed a villain. Jacko was already wearing the mask, and you thought the truth would make things worse. She nods. I still do. You stare at the floor. Then why tell me now? Because the house isn't the only place that can burn. Yeah, sure. You track Mickey down the next day. He's in a dive bar outside Bristol, alone, playing darts with no aim. He sees you and smirks. Can't stay away. Can you? You were in the study that night. His smile fades. Tina told you. You nod. What happened? He downs the rest of his drink. I went to tell her I was leaving, that I couldn't play the son anymore. And she said if I walked out, she'd cut me off, that I was never really one of them. You lean in, so you pushed her. No, he meets your eyes. And for once, there's no mask. Philip was already there. I walked in on him screaming, shaking. She was lying on the floor, still breathing, and you left. Then I ran. Why? Because if anyone saw me there, I'd be next. You study him. You didn't kill her. No. But I didn't help her either. He stands. And that's a kind of guilt too, isn't it? You don't answer because you don't have to. That night, you lay in a cheap motel bed, listening to rain whisper against the window. Everything's out now. All the names, all the failures. All the silence turned into sentences. But the truth doesn't comfort you. It just confirms what you've always known. In families like the Argyles, innocence isn't something you're born with. It's something you have to survive. Chapter 15. Even mercy leaves scars. Morning creeps in under a curtain of damp light. You wake with a headache that feels like it was earned, not inherited. Outside, the motel sign flickers. Half-liter letters. Like a name you used to know, but forgot how to say. You light a cigarette with a shaking hand. Everyone's story is out now. Philip confessed. Leo surrendered. Tina remembered. Mickey ran, but there's still one voice missing. Hester, she's not coming back. But her absence weighs more than any of their presence ever did. And it's that absence that leads you back. You return to Sunny Point without calling. The house doesn't need warning. It's always waiting. Mary opens the door. She doesn't flinch this time. She just steps aside and lets you in. We heard about Mickey. She said, he's not guilty. No, but he's not innocent either. You nod. You both know what that means now. Not just legal. Morally, you ask to see Hester's room. Mary hesitates, then points. Second floor, last door. It's cold. Smells like lavender and dust. A single photo still hangs Rachel and Hester at the seaside, smiling like strangers, pretending to be family. You sit on the bed. There's something beneath the mattress. A box. Inside a notebook. A silver necklace. And an envelope with your name on it. Your breath stalls. You open it. If you're reading this, you see what no one else wanted to look for. They'll say I was angry, that I was unstable. Maybe I was, but I saw things they didn't. I watched Leo erase guilt with charm. I watched Philip weep for attention. I watched Mickey play wolf and act like a son. And I watched Rachel fall out of love with all of us. She died because someone needed her gone. But she stayed dead because everyone needed her silenced. You can't fix us, but maybe you can record us So we're not buried twice. No signature, just a smudge of ink, like she changed her mind before owning it. You walk downstairs. Mary's still in the drawing room, staring at the fireplace like it's playing reruns of her childhood. She left a note. You said, of course she did. She blamed everyone. Mary's smile is brittle. So did Rachel. She didn't hate you. No. She just didn't know how to love me. You nod. And now I know how not to become her. You leave her with that because it's not forgiveness. It's something colder, more useful, a boundary. Outside, the wind smells like earth and endings. You looked back at the house once, just once, then walk away. You don't know what happens next. Not to them, not even to you, but you know what's been earned. Not justice, not redeemed, memories. And that's enough for now. Chapter 16. The truth doesn't rest easy. You take the long road back to London. The kind that doesn't offer scenery, just time. The rain follows, soft and persistent, like a secret that refuses to be forgotten. By the time you step into your flat, the city has swallowed the countryside whole. But the ghosts, they came with you. You spread everything out on the table. Hester's letter, Rachel's torn journal, the photo, burned at the edges, Tina's transcript of the adoption hearings. It's not evidence, not anymore. It's testimony, a map of failures, written in ash and blood. You pour a drink, let it sit, because this next part isn't about action. It's about reckoning. The letter from the police comes 2 days later. Philip has been considered mentally unfit to stand trial. Detained under psychiatric supervision, Leo walks free, publicly shamed, privately protected. The Argyle name survives. Tarnished, but still carved in stone. And Jacko, still dead, still damned, but not alone anymore. Now, at least, someone writes the truth beside his grave. You. Tina sends a postcard. No return address. Just a single line. Some roots don't want to be dug up. But thank you for digging anyway. You pin it to the wall, see, next to Hester's handwriting, next to a copy of Rachel's will. Next to the ghosts. Because you've learned something now, the truth doesn't set you free. It holds you accountable. It stains your hands and won't let go. It doesn't rest easy, and neither will you. A week later, you get a knock at the door. It's Mickey. Hair longer, eyes calmer. He doesn't say hello, just walks in and closes the door behind him. You told them I wasn't part of it. You weren't, but I still was. You hand him a glass. He doesn't touch it, just stares at the files on your table. You still keeping it all. Somebody has come. He nods. What are you going to do with it? You look at him. Write it as it was. Not what they told the papers. Will anyone read it? Maybe, maybe not. Then why? You sip your drink. Because someday, someone will ask what really happened to Rachel Argyle. And I want the answer to be waiting. He exhales slowly, then sits. Neither of you speak for a while, just the rain, tapping the windows like a metronome for old regrets. The world outside moves on. The Argyles fracture into their separate silences. Sita. But you keep writing, not to solve anything, not to fix what's broken, but to remember. Because stories like these don't end. They echo. Chapter 17. Nothing stays buried. It starts with a letter. Not from anyone you expect. Not Mickey. Not Tina. Not Mary. It's from an attorney in Devon. Typed, crisp, too formal for emotion, too restrained for truth. but the contents are a slow bleed. A recent excavation on the Argyle estate, initiated during restoration, has uncovered human remains. The coroner believes they may date back nearly 2 decades. Authorities have reopened their inquiry into the death of Rachel Argyle. You stare at it for the long time. Your first thought, it's a mistake. A mistake. Your second, it's not, because Sunny Point always kept more than just ghosts. You take the train again. Same route, same damp windows. But the air feels different this time, like it's holding its breath. You arrive to find the estate cordoned off. Police tape flutters in the breeze, like a warning no one listening to. Inside, the servants are gone. Only Mary remains, thinner, eyes bruised by sleep's absence. You read it. She says. You nod. What did they find? Bones. Small. Shallow. Animal. She shakes her head. Child. The word lands heavy. Not because you didn't suspect, but because you did, and the confirmation makes it real. Do they know? Who? Not yet. But they're testing. You walk the garden. The spot is near the greenhouse. Overgrown, quiet, but not forgotten. You crouch beside the churned earth. Why here? Mary answers softly behind you. Because Rachel used to bury things she didn't want to explain. You stand. Secrets don't stay buried forever. No, she whispered, but some should. You dig through old files that night. Rachel's letters, adoption documents, birth certificates that don't match. Then you find it. One line in a court record. Infant female. Ward of the state. Assigned temporary guardianship Rachel Argyle. No name. No follow-up. No trace in the family's timeline. You call Tina. Did Rachel ever mention another child? Long silence. Then, only once. In a dream. She said she lost something and didn't want to dig it up. It wasn't metaphor. No, Tina said. Not anymore. Back at the house, you confronted Mary again. Do you know who it was? She nods, eyes glassy. Her name was Faith. Why wasn't she raised with the others? Because Rachel couldn't control her. She screamed, bit, vanished for hours. The others were obedient. Faith was untamable. What happened? Mary exhales like she's exercising it. One night, she disappeared. Rachel said she ran away. We believed it. We had to. You stare at the garden again. She didn't run. No. And Rachel buried her. Mary nods. And no one questions asked, because we were all trained not to. The police keep digging, but now they're not looking for a murderer. They're looking for patterns. Rachel wasn't just a matriarch. She was a warden, and Sunny Point was a prison built from silence. You spend your last night in the study. The fire long gone. The air is cold with memory. Faith's name added to the ledger. Another voice stilled, another truth. Late, but loud. You don't sleep. You write, because nothing stays buried. Not bones, not guilty, not even innocent. Chapter 18. She was always missing you. Wake up to the smell of soil. Not real. Just remember playing tricks on the nose. But it's there rich, wet, grave deep. You walk the garden at dawn. The earth is sealed again, cordoned off with markers and flags. Faith's bones now belong to the system bags, catalogs, evidence. But her story, still fragmented, still whispering, still dangerous. The papers run the story like it's scandal. Body found at home of notorious heiress. Rachel Argyle, linked to unsolved infant death. Truth wrapped in speculation, boxed in outrage. Sold with ink, But behind the headlines, the family stays silent, not out of shock, out of habit, because Gaines was the only thing ever truly inherited in that house. Tina calls again. She sounds more tired than sad. They've confirmed the identity. Faith. Yes. DNA matched the state file. You jot it down like it matters. Like facts make grief more manageable. Any charges? Too late. Everyone who could be blamed is either dead, locked away, or washed clean by time. Convenient. Cruel, she says. You agree? Then hang up. You can't talk about ghosts anymore. Not today. You find Mickey back in London. He's in a boxing gym now, teaching kids how to move without breaking. He nods when he sees you, doesn't ask why you came, just hands you a towel and water. Faith. You say, I saw the news. Did you know? He hesitates. I knew there was someone Rachel didn't let near us. Screamed her name once during a thunderstorm. Like a curse. She was buried under the garden, and no one noticed. You both stand there, surrounded by sweat and impact and breath. What does that make us? Mickey asks. Oh, the ones who kept living. Is that justice? No. You said, that's the ordeal. That night, you opened a fresh page in the journal, the one you said you'd close. But Faith needs a chapter now, not as a victim, not even as a symbol, but as the girl no one remembered until the dirt spoke louder than the house ever did. You write her name in ink, then circle it, a black ring around a forgotten life. And in that small act, you feel something shift. Not peace, not closed, but maybe the weight gets redistributed. The ghosts don't speak anymore. Not because they're gone, because they've said enough. Now it's your turn. Chapter 19, The Ledger of the Forgotten. You return to the file. The one that started it all, Jacko's case. The one you thought was closed until it opened a dozen others. You flip through pages worn by fingers, time and shame. Mugshots, autopsy photos, handwritten police notes full of bias and exhaustion. But this time, you're not looking for what's in them. You're looking for what's missing. Faith's name doesn't appear once. Not in Jacko's confession. Not in Rachel's notes. Not even in the family statements. She was written out before she could be written in, like a footnote that got erased by blood and convenience. And now, she's inked only in dirt. You visit the cemetery. Not the family's vault, they don't bury mistakes among marble. You go to the town's public ground, where the forgotten rest beneath weeds and rusted gates. A new headstone stands, small, stark, just a name carved with soft hands and blunt truth. Faith, no dates, no scripture, just silence carved into stone. But someone left flowers, fresh. You're not the only one keeping ledger. Leo is gone, retired, or fled. Depends on who's telling it. Philip still murmurs to corners in a clinic up north. Mary never leaves Sumney Point. She walks it like a lighthouse keeper circling, watching, never truly seeing. Tina teaches now, ethics. Ironically, and Mickey keeps swinging at ghosts in the gym, hoping for the next punch lands on the past. As for Hester, she's still the voice that rings loudest in your head, because she was the first to warn you. This family isn't about love. It's about the illusion of love, and illusions die hard. You get a call, a publisher. They've read your manuscript. They want to release it under a pseudonym. Too sensitive, they said. Too raw. Too close to living wounds. You hang up, walk to your window. Watch a couple argue beneath a flickering street lamp. Watch silence win again, then return to the desk. You strike your own name off the manuscript, not because you're ashamed, but because this story isn't yours. It belongs to the forgotten. You mail the manuscript to an address in Edinburgh. No note, just one line penciled inside the front cover. If memory is pain, then reminder is mercy. You seal the envelope, walk it to the box, drop it in like a confession, and for the first time in months, you breathe. Not because the ordeal is over, but because it's finally been recorded. And in this family, that's the only justice anyone gets. Chapter 20. Innocence was never the point. You wake before dawn. The city's still half asleep, wrapped in fog and yesterday's regrets. But your hands move on instinct. Ching, coffee, cigarette, pencil. There's no page in front of you today, just the wall. And it's blank, because the story's done. Not resolved, just finished, like an open wound that finally stopped bleeding. You step outside. The pavement's wet with old rain. A cab driver asks, "Where to?" You shake your head. You're not going anywhere. Not yet. You walk instead, past newspaper stands printing yesterday's lies. Past windows reflect other people's lives. And you think about what Rachel Argyle tried to build, a fortress made of order, papered in perfection, staffed by silence, and how every brick cracked under the weight of denial. The world doesn't know what happened to Faith. Not really. They know the bones, the headline, maybe even the name. But they don't know the way Rachel locked the truth under roots and roses. They don't know how Hester carried that silent like a cross until it broke her. They don't know how Mickey punched his way toward peace and never found it. They don't know how you didn't solve the case. You just refused to let it stay buried. And that's the thing, isn't it? The thing you've learned. Innocence was never the point. The world doesn't want innocence. It wants closure. It wants a villain, a verdict, a bow on top. But life doesn't tie itself neatly. It unravels, and you either follow the thread or pretend it's not there. You choose to follow it. Always. Even when it leads nowhere. Even when it leads back to yourself. You return to the office. The walls are bare now. The files are boxed and labeled. You sit one last time. Write one last line. Not for publication. Not for history. Just for you. Sometimes the worst crime isn't murder. It's pretend nothing happened. You underline it, then close the journal. You stand, turn off the light. Walk out the door. No music plays. No epilogue. Rolls. Just footsteps in the hallway and the sound of a lock turning. And silence. The honest kind. The earned kind. The kind that finally, after everything, feels like peace. Chapter 21. There had been nothing to tell Philip Durant that this day was different from any other day. He had no idea that today would decide his future once and for all. He woke in good health and spirits. The sun, a pale autumnal sun, shone in at the window. Kirsten brought him a telephone message which increased his good spirits. "Tina's coming over for tea," he told Mary when she came in with his breakfast. "Is she?" "Oh, yes, of course. It's her afternoon off." "Isn't it?" Mary sounded preoccupied. "What's the matter?" "Polly, nothing." She chipped off the top of his egg for him. At once, he felt irritated. I can still use my hands. "Polly, oh, I thought it would save you trouble." "How old do you think I am?" "6. She looked faintly surprised. Then she said, abruptly, "Hester's coming home today, is she?" He spoke vaguely, because his mind was full of his plans for dealing with Tina. Then he caught sight of his wife's expression. "For goodness sake." "Polly, do you think I've got a guilty passion for the girl?" She turned her head aside. "You're always saying she's so lovely." "So she is. If you like beautiful bones and a quality of the unearthly," he added dryly. But I'm hardly cut out to be a seducer. Am I? You might wish you were. Don't be ridiculous. Polly, I never knew you had this tendency to jealousy. You don't know anything about me? He started to rebut that, but paused. It came to him with something of a shock that perhaps he didn't know very much about Mary. She went on, I want you to myself, all to myself. I want there to be nobody in the world but you and me. We'd run out of conversation. Polly. He had spoken lightly, but he felt uncomfortable. The brightness of the morning seemed suddenly dimmed. She said, let's go home. Philip, please let's go home. Very soon we will. But not just yet. Things are coming along. As I told you. Tina's coming this afternoon. He went on, hoping to turn her thoughts into a new channel. I've great hopes of Tina. In what way Tina knows something? You mean about the murder? Yes. But how can she? She wasn't even here that night. I wonder now. I think, you know, that she was. Funny how odd little things turn up to help. That daily, Mrs. Narracott, the tall one. She told me something. What did she tell you? A bit of village gossip. Mrs. Somebody or other's Ernie. No, Cyril. He'd had to go with his mother to the police station. Something he'd seen on the night poor Mrs. Argyle was done in. What had he seen? Well, there Mrs. Narracott was rather vague. She hadn't got it out of Mrs. Somebody yet, but one can guess. Can't one? Polly Cyril wasn't inside the house, so he must have seen something outside. That gives us two guesses. He saw Mickey or he saw Tina. It's my guess that Tina came out here that night. She'd have said so, not necessarily. It sticks out a mile that Tina knows something she isn't telling. Say she drove out that night. Perhaps she came into the house and found your mother dead, and went away again without saying anything nonsense. There may have been reasons. She may have seen or heard something that made her think she knew who'd done it. She was never particularly fond of Jacko. I'm sure she wouldn't have wanted to shield him. Then perhaps it wasn't Jacko she suspected. But later, when Jacko was arrested, she thought that what she had suspected was quite wrong. Having said she wasn't here, she had to stick to it. But now, of course, it's different, Mary said impatiently. You just imagine things. Philip, you make up a lot of things that can't possibly be true. They're quite likely to be true. I'm going to try and make Tina tell me what she knows. I don't believe she knows anything. Do you really think she knows who did it? I wouldn't go as far as that. I think she either saw or heard something. I want to find out what that something is. Tina won't tell if she doesn't want to. No, I agree. And she's a great one for keeping things to herself. Little poker face, too. Never shows anything. But she's not really a good liar. Not nearly as good a liar as you are. For instance, my method will be to guess. Put my guess to her as a question, to be answered yes or no. Do you know what will happen then? One of three things. She'll either say yes, and that will be that. Or she will say no. And since she isn't a good liar, I shall know whether her no is genuine. Or she will refuse to answer and put on her poker face, and that, Polly, will be as good as yes. Come now, You must admit that there are possibilities with this technique of mine. Oh, leave it all alone. Do leave it alone. It will all die down and be forgotten. No, this thing has got to be cleared up. Otherwise, we'll have Hester throwing herself out of windows and Kirsty having a nervous breakdown. Leo's already freezing up into a kind of stalactite. As for poor old Gwenda, she's on the point of accepting a post in Rhodesia. What does it matter what happens to them? Nobody matters but us. That's what you mean. His face was stern and angry. It startled Mary. She had never seen her husband look like that before. She faced him defiantly. Why should I care about other people? She asked. You never have you? I don't know what you mean. Philip gave a sharp, exasperated sigh. He pushed his breakfast tray aside. Take this thing away. I don't want any more. But Philip, he made an impatient gesture. Mary picked up the tray and carried it out of the room. Philip wheeled himself over to the writing table. Pen in hand, he stared out of the window. He felt a curious oppression of spirit. He had been so full of excitement a short while ago. Now, he felt uneasy and restless. But presently, he rallied. He covered 2 sheets of paper rapidly. Then, he sat back and considered. It was plausible. It was possible. But he wasn't entirely satisfied. Was he really on the right track? He couldn't be sure. Motive. Motive was what was so damnably lacking. There was some factor, somewhere, that had escaped him. He sighed impatiently. He could hardly wait for Tina to arrive. If only this could be cleared up, just among themselves. That was all that was necessary. Once they knew, then they would all be free. Free of this stifling atmosphere of suspicion and hopelessness. They could all, except one, get on with their own lives. He and Mary would go back home, and his thoughts stopped. Excitement died down again. He faced his own problem. He didn't want to go home. He thought of its orderly perfection, its shining chintzes, its gleaming brass, a clean, bright, well-tended cage, and he in the cage, tied to his invalid chair, surrounded by the loving care of his wife. His wife. When he thought of his wife, he seemed to see 2 people. One, the girl he had married, fair-haired, blue-eyed, gentle, reserved. That was the girl he had loved. The girl he teased while she stared at him with a puzzled frown. That was his Polly. But there was another Mary, a Mary who was hard as steel, who was passionate but incapable of affection, a Mary to whom nobody mattered but herself. Even he only mattered because he was hers. A line of French verse passed through his mind. How did it go? C'est Vénus tout entière sa proie attachée. And that Mary he did not love. Behind the cold blue eyes of that Mary was a stranger he did not know. And then he laughed at himself. He was getting nervy and hid up like everybody else in the house. He remembered his mother-in-law talking to him about his wife, about the sweet little fair-haired girl in New York, and about the moment when the child had thrown her arms round Mrs. Argyle's neck and had cried out, "I want to stay with you. I don't want to leave you ever." That had been affection, hadn't it? And yet, how very unlike Mary. Could one change so much between child and woman? How difficult. Almost impossible it was for Mary ever to voice affection, to be demonstrative. Yet certainly on that occasion, his thoughts stopped dead. Or was it really quite simple? Not affection, just calculation, a means to an end, a show of affection deliberately produced. What was Mary capable of to get what she wanted? Almost anything, he thought, and was shocked with himself for thinking it. Angrily, he dashed down his pen and wheeled himself out of the sitting room into the bedroom next door, wheeled himself up to the dressing table. He picked up his brushes and brushed back his hair from where it hanging over his forehead. His own face looked strange to him. Who am I? He thought. And where am I going? Thoughts that had never occurred to him before. He wheeled his chair close to the window and looked out. Down below. One of the daily women stood outside the kitchen window and talked to someone inside. Their voices, softly accented in the local dialect, floated up to him. His eyes widening, he remained as though tranced. A sound from the next room awakened him from his preoccupation. He wheeled himself to the connecting door. Gwenda Vaughn was standing by the writing table. She turned towards him, and he was startled by the haggardness of her face in the morning sunshine. Hello, Gwenda. Hello, Philip. Leo thought you might like the Illustrated London News. Oh, thanks. This is a nice room, said Gwenda, looking round her. I don't believe I've ever been in it before. Quite the royal suite, isn't it? Said Philip, away from everybody, ideal for invalids and honeymoon couples. Just too late, he wished he had not used the last two words. Gwenda's face quivered. I must get on with things, she said vaguely. The perfect secretary. Not even that nowadays. I make mistakes. Don't we all? He added deliberately. When are you and Leo getting married? We probably never shall. That would be a real mistake, said Philip. Leo thinks it might cause unfavorable comment from the police. Her voice was bitter. Dash it all. Gwenda, one has to take some risks. I'm willing to take risks, said Gwenda. I've never minded taking risks. I'm willing to gamble on happiness. But Leo, yes, Leo, said Gwenda, will probably die as he has lived, the husband of Rachel Argyle. The anger and bitterness in her eyes startled him. She might just as well be alive. Said Gwenda, she's here, in the house, all the time. Chapter 22. Tina parked her car on the grass by the churchyard wall. She removed the paper carefully from the flowers she had brought. Then she walked in through the cemetery gates and along the main path. She did not like the new cemetery. She wished it had been possible for Mrs. Argyle to have been buried in the old churchyard which surrounded the church. There seemed an old-world peace there. The yew tree and the moss-grown stones in this cemetery, so new, so well arranged, with its main walk and the paths radiating off it. Everything seemed as slick and mass-produced as the contents of a supermarket. Mrs. Argyle's grave was well kept. It had a square marble surround filled with granite chips, a granite cross rising from the back of it. Tina, holding her carnations, bent to read the inscription, in loving memory of Rachel Louise Argyle. Below it was the text, her children shall rise up and call her blessed. There was a footstep behind her, and Tina turned her head, startled. Mickey, I saw your car. I followed you. At least one was coming here anyway. You were coming here. Why, I don't know. Just to say goodbye. Perhaps. Goodbye to her. He nodded. Yes. I've taken that job with the oil company I told you about. I'm going off in about 3 weeks. And you came here to say goodbye to Mother first. Yes. Perhaps to thank her and to say I'm sorry. What are you sorry for? Mickey, I'm not sorry that I killed her if that's what you're trying to imply. Have you been thinking I killed her? Tina, I was not sure. You can't be sure now. Either. Can you? I mean, it's no good my telling you that I didn't kill her. Why are you sorry? She did a lot for me, said Mickey slowly. I was never the least bit grateful. I resented every single damn thing she did. I never gave her a kind word or a loving look. I wish now that I had. That's all. When did you stop hating her? After she was dead. Yes. Yes. I suppose so. It wasn't her you hated, was it? No. No. You were right about that. It was my own mother. Because I loved her. Because I loved her, and she didn't care a button for me. And now, you're not even angry about that. No, I don't suppose she could help it. After all, you're born what you are. She was a sunny, happy sort of creature. Too fond of men, and too fond of the bottle. And she was nice to her kids when she felt like being nice. She wouldn't have let anyone else hurt them. All right, so she didn't care for me. All these years I refused to live with that idea. Now, I've accepted it. He stretched out a hand. Give me just one of your carnations, will you? Tina. He took it from her, and bending down, laid it on the grave below the inscription. There you are, Mum, he said. I was a rotten son to you, and I don't think you were a very wise mother to me. But you meant well. He looked at Tina. Is that a good enough apology? I think it will do, said Tina. She bent down and put her own bunch of carnations. Do you often come here and put flowers? I come here once a year, said Tina. Little Tina, said Mickey. They turned together and walked back down the cemetery path. I didn't kill her. Tina, said Mickey. I swear I didn't. I want you to believe me. I was there that night, said Tina. He wheeled round. You were there, you mean at Sunny Point? Yes. I was thinking of changing my job. I wanted to consult Father and Mother about it. Well, said Mickey. Go on. When she did not speak, he took her arm and shook her. Go on. Tina, he said, you've got to tell me. I haven't told anyone so far, said Tina. Go on, said Mickey again. I drove there. I didn't take the car right up to the gate. You know there's a place halfway where it's easier to turn it. Mickey nodded. I got out of the car there and I walked towards the house. I felt unsure of myself. You know how difficult it was in some ways to talk to Mother. I mean, she always had her own ideas. I wanted to put the case clearly as I could, and so I walked to the house and then back towards the car, and then back again. Thinking things out. What time was this? Asked Mickey. I don't know, said Tina. I can't remember now. Time doesn't mean very much to me. No. Darling, said Mickey, you always have that air of infinite leisure. I was under the trees, said Tina, and walking very softly. Like the little cat you are, said Mickey affectionately. When I heard them, heard what two people whispering. Yes, Mickey's body had tensed. What did they say? They said, one of them said, between 7 and 7:30, that's the time. Now remember that and don't make a muck of it. Between 7 and 7:30. The other person whispered, you can trust me. And then the first voice said, and after that, darling, everything will be wonderful. There was a silence. Then Mickey said, well, why have you held this up? Because I didn't know, said Tina. I didn't know who was speaking. But surely, was it a man or a woman? I don't know, said Tina. Don't you see? When two people are whispering, you don't hear the voice. It's just, well, just a whisper. I think, of course I think, it was a man and a woman because of what they said yet. But I didn't know who they were. You thought, said Mickey, that it might have been Father and Gwenda. It's possible, isn't it? Said Tina. It might have meant that Gwenda was to leave the house and come back between those times. Or it might have been Gwenda telling Father to come down between 7 and 7:30. If it was Father and Gwenda, you wouldn't want to turn them over to the police. Is that it? If I were sure, said Tina, but I'm not sure. It could have been someone else. It could have been Hester and someone. It could even have been Mary. But not Philip. No, not Philip. Of course. When you say Hester and someone, who do you mean I don't know? You didn't see him. The man. I mean, no, said Tina. I didn't see him. Tina, I think you're lying. It was a man. Wasn't it? I turned back, said Tina, towards the car, and then someone came by on the other side of the road, walking very fast. He was just a shadow in the darkness. And then I thought I heard a car start up at the end of the road. You thought it was me, said Mickey. I didn't know, said Tina. It could have been you. It was about your size and height. They reached Tina's little car. Come on. Tina, said Mickey, get in. I'm coming with you. We'll drive down to Sunny Point. But Mickey, it's no use my telling you it wasn't me. Is it? What else should I say? Come on, drive to Sunny Point. What are you going to do? Mickey, why should you think I'm going to do anything? Weren't you going to Sunny Point anyway? He says, said Tina. I had a letter from Philip. She started the little car. Mickey, sitting beside her, held himself very taut and rigid. Heard from Philip. Did you? What had he to say? He asked me to come over. He wanted to see me. He knows this is my half day. Oh, did he say what he wanted to see you about? He said he wanted to ask me a question, and he hoped that I'd give him the answer to it. He said that I needn't tell him anything. He'd tell me. I would only have to say yes or no. He said that whatever I told him, he'd hold in confidence. So he's up to something. Is he, said Mickey, interesting? It was a very short distance to Sunny Point. When they got there, Mickey said, you go in. Tina, I'm going to walk up and down the garden a bit, thinking of things. Go on. Have your interview with Philip. Tina said, you're not going to. You wouldn't. Mickey gave a short laugh. Suicide from Lover's Leap. Come now, Tina, you know me better than that. Sometimes, said Tina. I think one does not know anybody. She turned away from him and walked slowly into the house. Mickey looked after her, his head thrust forward, his hands in his pockets. He was scowling. Then he walked round the corner of the house, looking up at it thoughtfully. All his boyhood memories came back to him. There was the old magnolia tree. He'd climbed up there many a time and through the landing window. There was the small plot of earth that had been supposed to be his own garden. Not that he'd ever taken very kindly to gardens. He'd always preferred taking any mechanical toys he had to pieces. Destructive little devil, he thought with faint amusement. Ah, well, one didn't really change. Inside the house, Tina met Mary in the hall. Mary looked startled at seeing her. Tina, have you come over from Redmond? Yeses, said Tina. Didn't you know I was coming? I'd forgotten, said Mary. I believe Philip did mention it. She turned away. I'm going into the kitchen, she said, to see if the Ovaltine has come. Philip likes it last thing at night. Kirsten is just taking him up some coffee. He likes coffee better than tea. He says tea gives him indigestion. Why do you treat him like an invalid? Mary said, Tina, he's not really an invalid. There was a touch of cold anger in Mary's eyes. When you've got a husband of your own. Tina, she said, you'll know better how husbands like to be treated. Tina said gently, I'm sorry. If only we could get out of this house, said Mary. It's so bad for Philip being here. And Hester's coming back today, she added. Tina sounded surprised. Is she? Why? How should I know? She rang up last night and said so. I don't know what train she's coming by. I suppose it'll be the express. As usual. Someone will have to go into Drymouth to meet her. Mary disappeared along the passage to the kitchen. Tina hesitated a moment. Then she walked up the stairs. On the landing, the first door to the right opened, and Hester came through it. She looked startled at seeing Tina. Hester, I heard you were coming back, but I'd no idea you'd arrived. Dr. Calgary drove me down, said Hester. I came straight up to my room. Don't think anyone knows I've arrived. Is Dr. Calgary here now? No. He just dropped me and went on into Drymouth. He wanted to see someone there. Mary didn't know you'd arrived. Mary never knows anything, said Hester. She and Philip isolate themselves from everything that goes on. I suppose Father and Gwenda are in the library. Everything seems to be going on just the same as usual. Why shouldn't it? I don't really know, said Hester vaguely. I just suspected that it would all be different somehow. She moved past Tina and down the stairs. Tina went on past the library and along the passage to the suite at the end which the Durants occupied. Kirsten Lindstrom, standing just outside Philip's door, with a tray in her hand, turned her head sharply. Why, Tina, you made me jump, she said. I was just taking Philip some coffee and biscuits. She raised a hand to knock. Tina joined her. After knocking, Kirsten opened the door and passed in. She was a little ahead of Tina, and her tall, angular frame blocked Tina's view. But Tina heard Kirsten's gasp. Her arms gave way, and the tray crashed to the ground, cup and plate smashing against the fender. Oh, no, cried Kirsten. Oh, no, Tina said Philip. She passed the other woman and came forward to where Philip Durant's chair had been brought up to the desk. He had, she supposed, been writing. There was a ballpoint pen lying close to his right hand, but his head was dropped forward in a curious, twisted attitude. And at the base of his skull, she saw something that looked like a bright red lozenge staining the whiteness of his collar. "He has been killed," said Kirsten. "He has been killed. Stabbed. There, through the bottom of the brain. One little stab, and it is fatal," she added, her voice rising. "I warned him. I did all I could, but he was like a child, enjoying himself, playing with tools that were dangerous, not seeing where he was going. It was like a bad dream," Tina thought. She stood there softly at Philip's elbow, looking down at him, whilst Kirsten raised his limp hand and felt the wrist for the pulse that was not there. What had he wanted to ask her? Whatever he wanted, he would never ask it now. Without really thinking objectively, Tina's mind was taking in and registering various details. He had been writing, yes, the pen was there, but there was no paper in front of him, nothing written. Whoever had killed him had taken away what he'd written. She said, speaking quietly and mechanically, "We must tell the others. Yes, yes, we must go down to them. We must tell your father." Side by side, the two women went to the door. Kirsten's arm round Tina. Tina's eyes went to the dropped tray and the broken crockery. "That does not matter," said Kirsten. "All that can be cleared up later." Tina half stumbled, and Kirsten's arm restrained her. "Be careful. You will fall." They went along the passage. The door of the library opened. Leo and Gwenda came out. Tina said in her clear, low voice, "Philip has been killed. Stabbed." It was like a dream, Tina thought. The shocked exclamations of her father and Gwenda flowing past her, going to Philip, who was dead. Kirsten left her and hurried down the stairs. "I must tell Mary. It must be broken to her gently. Poor Mary. It will be a terrible shock." Tina followed her slowly. More than ever, she felt dazed and dreamlike, a strange pain catching at her heart. Where was she going? She did not know. Nothing was real. She came to the open front door and passed through it. It was then she saw Mickey coming round the corner of the house. Automatically, as though this was where her footsteps had been leading her all the time, she went straight to him. "Mickey," she said. "Oh, Mickey." His arms were open. She went straight into them. "It's all right," said Mickey. "I've got you." Tina crumpled slightly in his arms. She dropped to the ground, a small, huddled heap, just as Hester came running from the house. "She's fainted," Mickey said helplessly. "I've never known Tina faint before." "It's the shock," said Hester. "What do you mean, the shock Philip has been killed?" said Hester. "Didn't you know?" "How could I know?" How just now?" He stared at her. Then he picked up Tina in his arms. With Hester accompanying him, he took her into Mrs. Argyle's sitting room and laid her on the sofa. "Ring up Dr. Craig," he said. "That's his car now," said Hester, looking out of the window. Father was calling him on the telephone about Philip. I, she looked round. I don't want to meet him. She ran out of the room and up the stairs. Donald Craig got out of his car and in through the open front door. Kirsten came from the kitchen to meet him. Good afternoon, Miss Lindstrom. What's this? Mr. Argyle tells me that Philip Durant has been killed. Killed? It is quite true, said Kirsten. Has Mr. Argyle rung up the police? I do not know. Any chance that he's just wounded? Said Don. He turned to take his medical bag out of the car. No, said Kirsten. Her voice was flat and tired. He is dead. I am quite sure of that. He has been stabbed. Here. She put her hand to the back of her own head. Mickey came out into the hall. Hello? Don? You had better have a look at Tina. He said, she's fainted. Tina. Oh, yes. That's the one from Redmond, isn't it? Where is she? She isn't there. I'll just have a look at her before I go upstairs. As he went into the room, he spoke over his shoulder to Kirsten. Keep her warm, he said. Get some hot tea or coffee for her as soon as she comes round. But you know the drill. Kirsten nodded. Kirsten Mary Durant came slowly along the hall from the kitchen. Kirsten went to her. Mickey stared at her helplessly. It's not true. Mary spoke in a loud, harsh voice. It's not true. It's a lie you've made up. He was all right when I left him just now. He was quite all right. He was writing. I told him not to write. I told him not to. What made him do it? Why should he be so pig-headed? Why wouldn't he leave this house when I wanted him to? Coaxing her, soothing her. Kirsten did her best to make her relax. Donald Craig strode out of the sitting room. Who said that girl had fainted? He demanded. Mickey stared at him. But she did faint. He said, where was she when she fainted? She was with me. She came out of the house and walked to meet me. Then she just collapsed. Collapsed. Did she? Yes, she collapsed all right, said Donald Craig grimly. He moved quickly towards the telephone. I must get hold of an ambulance, he said at once. An ambulance. Both Kirsten and Mickey stared at him. Mary did not seem to have heard. Yes, Donald was dialing angrily. That girl didn't faint. He said, she was stabbed. Do you hear stabbed in the back? We've got to get her to hospital at once. Chapter 23. In his hotel room, Arthur Calgary went over and over the notes he had made. From time to time, he nodded his head. Yeah, He was on the right track now. To begin with, he had made the mistake of concentrating on Mrs. Argyle. In 9 cases out often, that would have been the right procedure. But this was the 10th case. All along, he had felt the presence of an unknown factor. If he could once isolate and identify that factor, the case would be solved. In seeking it, he had been obsessed by the dead woman, but the dead woman he saw now was not really important. Any victim, in a sense, would have done. He had shifted his viewpoint, shifted it back to the moment when all this had begun. He had shifted it back to Jacko. Not just Jacko, as a young man unjustly sentenced for a crime he did not commit, but Jacko, the intrinsic human being. Was Jacko, in the words of the old Calvinistic doctrine, a vessel appointed to destruction. He'd been given every chance in life. Hadn't he, Dr. McMaster's opinion, at any rate, was that he was one of those who are born to go wrong. No environment could have helped him or saved him. Was that true? Leo Argyle had spoken of him with indulgence, with pity. How had he put it? One of nature's misfits. He had accepted the modern psychological approach, an invalid, not a criminal. What had Hester said? Bluntly, that Jacko was always awful. A plain, childish statement. And what was it Kirsten Lindstrom had said? That Jacko was wicked. Yes, she had put it as strongly as that. Wicked. Tina had said, I never liked him or trusted him. So they all agreed. Didn't they? In general terms, it was only in the case of his widow that they'd come down from the general to the particular. Maureen Clegg had thought of Jacko entirely from her own point of view. She had wasted herself on Jacko. She had been carried away by his charm, and she was resentful of the fact, now, securely remarried. She echoed her husband's views. She had given Calgary a forthright account of some of Jacko's dubious dealings, and the methods by which he had obtained money. Money. In Arthur Calgary's fatigued brain, the words seemed to dance on the wall in gigantic letters. Money, money, money. Like a motif in an opera, he thought. Mrs. Argyle's money, money put into trust. Money put into an annuity. Residual estate left to her husband. Money got from the bank. Money in the bureau drawer. Hester rushing out to her car with no money in her purse, getting £2 from Kirsten Lindstrom. Money found on Jacko. Money that he swore his mother had given him. The whole thing made a pattern woven out of irrelevant details about money, and surely, in that pattern, the unknown factor was becoming clear. He looked at his watch. He had promised to ring up Hester at an agreed time. He drew the telephone towards him and asked for the number. Presently, her voice came to him. Clear, rather childish. Hester, are you all right? Oh, yes, I'm all right. It took him a moment or two to grasp the implication of that accented word. Then he said sharply, What has happened? Philip has been killed. Philip Durrant. Calgary sounded incredulous. Yes, and Tina, too. At least she isn't dead yet. She's in hospital. Tell me, he ordered. She told him. He questioned and re-questioned her narrowly until he got all the facts. Then he said grimly, Hold on, Hester, I'm coming. I'll be with you. He looked at his watch. In an hour's time. I've got to see Superintendent Hewish first. What exactly do you want to know? Dr. Calgary asked Superintendent Hewish. But before Calgary could speak, the telephone rang on Hewish's desk and the superintendent picked it up. Yes. Speaking. Just a moment. He drew a piece of paper towards him, picked up a pen, and prepared to write. Yes. Go ahead. Yes. He wrote, What? How do you spell that last word? Oh, I see. Yes. Doesn't seem to make much sense yet. Does it? Right? Nothing else, right? Thanks. He replaced the receiver. That was the hospital, he said. Tina asked Calgary. The superintendent nodded. She regained consciousness for a few minutes. Did she say anything? Asked Calgary. I don't really know why I should tell you that. Dr. Calgary. I ask you to tell me, said Calgary, because I think that I can help you over this business. Hewish looked at him consideringly. You've taken all this very much to heart, haven't you? Dr. Calgary? He said. Yes, I have. You see, I felt responsible for reopening the case. I even feel responsible for these two tragedies. Will the girl live? They think so, said Hewish. The blade of the knife missed the heart, but it may be touch and go. He shook his head. That's always the trouble, he said. People will not believe that a murderer is unsafe. Sounds a queer thing to say, but there it is. They all knew there was a murderer in their midst. They ought to have told what they knew. The only safe thing if a murderer is about is to tell the police anything you know at once. Well, they didn't. They held out on me. Philip Durant was a nice fellow, an intelligent fellow, but he regarded this as a kind of game. He went poking about laying traps for people, and he got somewhere. Or he thought he got somewhere. And somebody else thought he was getting somewhere. Result: I get a call to say he's dead, stabbed through the back of the neck. That's what comes of messing about with murder and not realizing its danger. He stopped and cleared his throat. And the girl asked Calgary. The girl knew something, said Hewish, something she didn't want to tell. It's my opinion, he said. She was in love with the fellow. You're talking about... Mickey Hewish nodded. Yes, I'd say, too, that Mickey was fond of her. In a way, but being fond of anyone isn't enough if you're mad with fear. Whatever she knew was probably more deadly than she herself realized. That's why, after she found Durant dead and she came rushing out straight into his arms, he took his chance and stabbed her. That's merely conjecture on your part, isn't it? Superintendent Hewish? Not entirely conjecture. Dr. Calgary, the knife was in his pocket. The actual knife. Yes, it had blood on it. We're going to test it. But it'll be her blood, all right. Her blood and the blood of Philip Durant. But it couldn't have been. Who says it couldn't have been Hester? I rang her up, and she told me all about it. She did. Did she? Well, the facts are very simple. Mary Durant went down to the kitchen, leaving her husband alive, at 10 minutes to 4. At that time, there were in the house Leo Argyle and Gwenda Vaughn in the library. Hester Argyle in her bedroom on the first floor, and Kirsten Lindstrom in the kitchen. Just after 4 o'clock, Mickey and Tina drove up. Mickey went into the garden, and Tina went upstairs, following close on Kirsten's footsteps, who had just gone up with coffee and biscuits for Philip. Tina stopped to speak to Hester, then went on to join Miss Lindstrom, and together they found Philip dead, and all this time, Mickey was in the garden. Surely, that's a perfect alibi. What you don't know, Dr. Calgary, is that there's a big magnolia tree growing up by the side of the house. The kids used to climb it, Mickey in particular. It was one of his ways in and out of the house. He could have shinned up that tree, gone into Durant's room, stabbed him, back and out again. Oh, it needed split-second timing, but it's astonishing what audacity will do sometimes. And he was desperate. At all costs, he had to prevent Tina and Durant meeting, to be safe. He had to kill them both. Calgary thought for a moment or two. You said just now, Superintendent, that Tina has recovered consciousness. Wasn't she able to say definitely who stabbed her? She wasn't very coherent, said Hewish slowly. In fact, I doubt if she was conscious in the proper sense of the term. He gave a tired smile. All right, Dr. Calgary. I'll tell you exactly what she said. First of all, she said a name. Mickey. She has accused him. Then, said Calgary. That's what it looks like, said Hewish, nodding his head. The rest of what she said didn't make sense. It's a bit fantastic. What did she say? Hewish looked down at the pad in front of him. Mickey. Then a pause. Then, the cup was empty. Then another pause. And then, the dove on the mast. He looked at Calgary. Can you make any sense of that, no? Said Calgary. He shook his head and said wonderingly, the dove on the mast. That seems a very extraordinary thing to say. No masts and no doves as far as we know, said Hewish. But it meant something to her. Something in her own mind. But it mayn't, have been anything to do with the murder. Goodness knows what realms of fancy she's floating in. Calgary was silent for some moments. He sat thinking things over. He said, You've arrested Mickey. We've detained him. He will be charged within 24 hours. Hewish looked curiously at Calgary. I gather that this lad, Mickey, wasn't your answer to the problem? No, said Calgary. No, Mickey wasn't my answer. Even now, one don't know. He got up. I still think I'm right, he said, but I quite see that I've not got enough to go on for you to believe me. I must go out there again. I must see them all. Well, said Hewish, be careful of yourself. Dr. Calgary, what is your idea? By the way, would it mean anything to you? Said Calgary. If I told you that it is my belief that this was a crime of passion. Hewish's eyebrows rose. There are a lot of passions, Dr. Calgary, he said. Hate, avarice, greed, fear, they're all passions. When I said a crime of passion, said Calgary, I meant exactly what one usually means by that term. If you mean Gwenda Vaughn and Leo Argyle, said Hewish, that's what we've thought all along. But it doesn't seem to fit. It's more complicated than that, said Arthur Calgary. Chapter 24. It was again dusk when Arthur Calgary came to Sunny Point on an evening very like the evening when he had first come there. Viper's Point, he thought to himself as he rang the bell. Once again, events seemed to repeat themselves. It was Hester who opened it. There was the same defiance in her face, the same air of desperate tragedy. Behind her in the hall he saw, as he had seen before, the watchful, suspicious figure of Kirsten Lindstrom. It was history repeating itself. Then the pattern wavered and changed. The suspicion and the desperation went out of Hester's face. It broke up into a lovely, welcoming smile. You, she said. Oh, I'm so glad you've come. He took her hands in his. I want to see your father. Hester, is he upstairs in the library? Yes. Yes, he's there with Gwenda. Kirsten Lindstrom came forward towards them. Why do you come here again? She said, accusingly. Look at the trouble you brought last time. See what has happened to us all. Hester's life ruined. Mr. Argyle's life ruined, and 2 deaths. 2 Philip Durant and little Tina. And it is your doing. All your doing. Tina is not dead yet, said Calgary, and I have something here to do that I cannot leave undone. What have you got to do? Kirsten still stood, barring his way to the staircase. I've got to finish what I began, said Calgary. Very gently, he put a hand on her shoulder and moved her slightly aside. He walked up the stairs, and Hester followed him. He turned back over his shoulder and said to Kirsten, Come, too, Miss Lindstrom. I would like you all to be here, in the library. Leo Argyle was sitting in a chair by the desk. Gwenda Vaughn was kneeling in front of the fire, staring into its embers. They looked up with some surprise. I'm sorry to burst in upon you, said Calgary, but as I've just been saying to these two, I've come to finish what I began. He looked round. Is Mrs. Durant in the house still? I should like her to be here also. She's lying down, I think, said Leo. She's taken things terribly hard. I should like her to be here all the same. He looked at Kirsten. Perhaps you would go and fetch her. She may not want to come, said Kirsten sullenly. Tell her, said Calgary, that there are things she may want to hear about her husband's death. Oh, go on. Kirsty, said Hester, don't be so suspicious and so protective of us all. I don't know what Dr. Calgary's going to say, but we ought all to be here. As you please, said Kirsten. She went out of the room. Sit down, said Leo. He indicated a chair on the other side of the fireplace, and Calgary sat there. You must forgive me, said Leo. If I say at this moment that I wish you'd never come here in the first place, Dr. Calgary, that's unfair, said Hester fiercely. That's a terribly unfair thing to say. I know what you must feel, said Calgary. I think in your place I should feel much the same. Perhaps I even shared your view for a short period, but on reflection, I still cannot see that there was anything else that I could have done. Kirsten re-entered the room. Mary is coming, she said. They sat in silence waiting, and presently Mary Durant entered the room. Calgary looked at her with interest. Since it was the first time he had seen her, she looked calm and composed, neatly dressed, every hair in place, but her face was mask-like in its lack of expression, and there was an air about her as of a woman who walks in her sleep. Leo made an introduction. She bowed her head slightly. It is good of you to come. Mrs. Durant, said Calgary. I thought you ought to hear what I have to say. As you please, said Mary. But nothing that you can say, or anyone can say, will bring Philip back again. She went a little way away from them and sat down in a chair by the window. Calgary looked round him. Let me first say this. When I came here the first time, when I told you that I was able to clear Jacko's name, your reception of my news puzzled me. I understand it now. But the thing that made the greatest impression upon me was what this child here, he looked at Hester, said to me as I left. She said that it was not justice that mattered. It was what happened to the innocent. There is a phrase in the latest translation of the book of Job that describes it, the calamity of the innocent. As a result of my news, that is what you have all been suffering. The innocent should not suffer, and must not suffer, and it is to end the suffering of the innocent that I am here now to say what I have to say." He paused for a moment or two, but no one spoke. In his quiet, pedantic voice, Arthur Calgary went on. "When I came here first, it was not, as I thought, to bring you what might be described as tidings of great joy. You had all accepted Jacko's guilt. You were all, if I may say so, satisfied with it. It was the best solution that there could be in the murder of Mrs. Argyle." "Isn't that speaking a little harshly?" asked Leo. "No," said Calgary. "It is the truth. Jacko was satisfactory to you all as the criminal, since there could be no real question of an outsider having committed the crime. And because, in the case of Jacko, you could find the necessary excuses. He was unfortunate, a mental invalid, not responsible for his actions, a problem or delinquent boy. All the phrases that we can use nowadays so happily to excuse guilt. You said, Mr. Argyle, that you did not blame him. You said his mother, the victim, would not have blamed him. Only one person blamed him." He looked at Kirsten Lindstrom. "You blamed him. You said fairly and squarely that he was wicked. That is the term you used. Jacko was wicked. You said—" "Perhaps," said Kirsten Lindstrom. "Perhaps, yes, perhaps I said that. It was true. Yes, it was true. He was wicked. If he had not been wicked, none of this would have happened. Yet you know quite well," said Calgary, "that my evidence cleared him of the actual crime." Kirsten said, "One cannot always believe evidence. You had concussion. I know very well what concussion does to people. They remember things not clearly, but in a kind of blur." "So that is still your solution," said Calgary. "You think that Jacko actually committed that crime, and that in some way he managed to fake an alibi. Is that right?" "I do not know the details. Yes, something of that sort. I still say he did it. All the suffering that has gone on here and the deaths, yes, these terrible deaths, they are all his doing. All Jacko's doing." Hester cried, "But Kirsten, you were always devoted to Jacko." "Perhaps," said Kirsten. "Yes, perhaps, but I still say he was wicked." "There I think you are right," said Calgary, "but in another way, you are wrong. Concussion or no concussion, my memory is perfectly clear. On the night of Mrs. Argyle's death, I gave Jacko a lift at the stated time. There is no possibility, and I repeat those words strongly, there is no possibility that Jacko Argyle killed his adopted mother that night. His alibi holds." Leo moved with a trace of restlessness. Calgary went on. "You think that I'm repeating the same thing over and over again. Not quite. There are other points to be considered. One of them is the statement that I got from Superintendent Hewish that Jacko was very glib and assured when giving his alibi. He had it all pat and ready. The times, the place, almost as though he knew he might need it. That ties up with the conversation I had about him with Dr. McMaster, who has had a very wide experience of borderline delinquent cases. He said he was not so surprised at Jacko having the seeds of murder in his heart, but he was surprised that he had actually carried one out. He said the type of murder he would have expected was one where Jacko egged on someone else to commit the crime. So I came to the point where I asked myself this: Did Jacko know that a crime was to be committed that night? Did he know that he would need an alibi? And did he deliberately go about giving himself one? If so, someone else killed Mrs. Argyle, but Jacko knew she was going to be killed, and one may fairly say that he was the instigator of the crime. He said to Kirsten Lindstrom, "You feel that, don't you? You still feel it, or you want to feel it. You feel that it was Jacko who killed her, not you. You feel it was under his orders, and under his influence, you did it. Therefore, you want all the blame to be his." I said, "Kirsten Lindstrom." What are you saying I'm saying?" said Calgary. "That there was only one person in this house who could in any way fit into the role of Jacko Argyle's accomplice. And that is you. Miss Lindstrom, Jacko had a record behind him, a record of being able to inspire passion in middle-aged women. He employed that power deliberately. He had the gift of making himself believed. He leaned forward. He made love to you. Didn't he?" he said gently. "He made you believe that he cared for you, that he wanted to marry you, that after this was over and he'd got more control of his mother's money, you would be married and go away somewhere. That is right, isn't it?" Kirsten stared at him. She did not speak. It was as though she were paralyzed. It was done cruelly and heartlessly and deliberately. Said Arthur Calgary, "He came here that night desperate for some money, with the shadow over him of arrest and a jail sentence. Mrs. Argyle refused to give him money. When he was refused by her, he applied to you. Do you think," said Kirsten Lindstrom, "do you think that I would have taken Mrs. Argyle's money to give him instead of giving him my own? No," said Calgary. "You would have given him your own if you'd had any. But I don't think you had. You had a good income from the annuity which Mrs. Argyle had bought for you, but I think he'd already milked you dry of that. So he was desperate that evening, and when Mrs. Argyle had gone up to her husband in the library, you went outside the house where he was waiting, and he told you what you had to do. First, you must give him the money, and then, before the theft could be discovered, Mrs. Argyle had to be killed, because she would not have covered up the theft. He said it would be easy. You had just to pull out the drawers to make it look as though a burglar had been there, and to hit her on the back of the head. It would be painless. He said she would not feel anything. He himself would establish an alibi, so that you must be careful to do this thing within the right time limits, between 7 and 7:30. So, it's not true, said Kirsten. She had begun to tremble. You are mad to say such things. Yet there was no indignation in her voice. Strangely enough, it was mechanical and weary. Even if what you say is true, she said, do you think I would let him be accused of the murder? Oh, yes, said Calgary. After all, he had told you he would have an alibi. You expected him, perhaps, to be arrested and then to prove his innocence. That was all part of the plan. But when he couldn't prove his innocence, said Kirsten, would I not have saved him then? Perhaps, said Calgary. Perhaps, but for one fact. The fact that on the morning after the murder, Jacko's wife turned up here. You didn't know he was married. The girl had to repeat the statement 2 or 3 times before you would believe her. At that moment, your world crashed round you. You saw Jacko for what he was, heartless, scheming, without a particle of affection for you. You realized what he had made you do. Suddenly, Kirsten Lindstrom was speaking. The words came rushing out incoherently. I loved him. I loved him with all my heart. I was a fool, a credulous, middle-aged, doting fool. He made me think it. He made me believe it. He said he had never cared for girls. He said one cannot tell you all the things he said. I loved him. I tell you I loved him. And then that silly, simpering child came here, that common little thing. I saw it was all wickedness. Wickedness. His wickedness, not mine. The night I came here, said Calgary, you were afraid, weren't you? You were afraid of what was going to happen. You were afraid for the others, Hester, whom you loved, Leo, whom you were fond of. You saw, perhaps, a little of what this might do to them, but principally, you were afraid for yourself, and you see where fear has led you. You have 2 more deaths on your hands now. You are saying, I killed Tina and Philip. Of course you killed them, said Calgary. Tina has recovered consciousness. Kirsten's shoulders dropped in the sagging of despair. So she has told that I stabbed her. I did not think she even knew. I was mad. Of course, I was mad by then, mad with terror. It was coming so close. So close. Shall I tell you what Tina said when she regained consciousness? Said Calgary. She said, the cup was empty. I knew what that meant. You pretended to be taking up a cup of coffee to Philip Durant, but actually, you had already stabbed him and were coming out of that room when you heard Tina coming. So you turned round and pretended you were taking the tray in. Later, although she was shocked almost into unconsciousness by his death, she noticed automatically that the cup that had dropped on the floor was an empty cup, and there was no stain of coffee left by it. Hester cried out, but Kirsten couldn't have stabbed her. Tina walked downstairs and out to Mickey. She was quite all right. My dear child, said Calgary. People who have been stabbed have walked the length of the street without even knowing what has happened to them. In the state of shock Tina was in, she would hardly have felt anything. A pinprick, a slight pain perhaps. He looked again at Kirsten, and later he said, you slipped that knife into Mickey's pocket. That was the meanest thing of all. Kirsten's hands flew out pleadingly. I couldn't help it. One could not help it. It was coming so near. They were all beginning to find out. Philip was finding out, and Tina won. Think Tina must have overheard Jacko talking to me outside the kitchen that evening. They were all beginning to know. I wanted to be safe. I wanted. One can never be safe. Her hands dropped. I didn't want to kill Tina. As for Philip, Mary Durant rose. She came across the room slowly, but with increasing purpose. You killed Philip, she said. You killed Philip? Suddenly, like a tigress, she sprang at the other woman. It was Gwenda, quick-witted, who sprang to her feet and caught hold of her. Calgary joined her, and together they held her back. You cried Mary Durant. Kirsten Lindstrom looked at her. What business was it of his, she asked. Why did he have to snoop round and ask questions? He was never threatened. It was never a matter of life or death for him. It was just and amusement. She turned and walked slowly towards the door. Without looking at them, she went out. "Stop her!" cried Hester. "Oh, we must stop her." Leo Argyle said, "Let her go." "Hester, but she'll kill herself." "I rather doubt it," said Calgary. "She has been our faithful friend for so long," said Leo. "Faithful, devoted, and now this." "Do you think she'll give herself up?" said Gwenda. "It's far more likely," said Calgary, "that she'll go to the nearest station and take a train for London. But she won't, of course, be able to get away with it. She'll be traced and found." "Our dear Kirsten," said Leo again. His voice shook. "So faithful, so good to us all." Gwenda caught him by the arm and shook it. "How can you, Leo, how can you think what she did to us all? What she has made us suffer, I know," said Leo. "But she suffered herself. You know, as well. I think it is her suffering we have felt in this house." "We might have gone on suffering forever," said Gwenda, "as far as she was concerned, if it hadn't been for Dr. Calgary here." She turned towards him gratefully. "So at last," said Calgary, "I have done something to help, though rather late in the day, too late," said Mary, bitterly. "Too late. Oh, why didn't we know? Why didn't we guess?" She turned accusingly on Hester. "I thought it was you. I always thought it was you." "He didn't," said Hester. She looked at Calgary. Mary Durrant said quietly, "I wish I were dead." "My dear child," said Leo, "how I wish I could help you." "Nobody can help me," said Mary. "It's all Philip's own fault. Wanting to stay on here, wanting to mess about with this business, getting himself killed." She looked round at them. "None of you understand?" She went out of the room. Calgary and Hester followed her. As they went through the door, Calgary, looking back, saw Leo's arm pass round Gwenda's shoulders. "She warned me. You know," said Hester. Her eyes were wide and scared. "She told me right at the beginning not to trust her, to be as afraid of her as I was of everyone else." "Forget it, my dear," said Calgary. "That is the thing you have to do now. Forget. All of you are free now. The innocent are no longer in the shadow of guilt. And Tina, will she get well? She is not going to die." "I don't think she will die," said Calgary. "She's in love with Mickey, isn't she?" "I suppose she might be," said Hester, in a surprised voice. "I never thought about it. They've always been brother and sister, of course. But they're not really brother and sister. By the way, Hester, would you have any idea what Tina meant when she said, 'the dove on the mast'? Dove on the mast." Hester frowned. "Wait a minute. It sounds terribly familiar. The dove on the mast, as we sailed past, did mourn and mourn and mourn. Is that it?" "It might be," said Calgary. "It's a song," said Hester. "A sort of lullaby song. Kirsten used to sing it to us. I can only remember bits of it. 'My love, he stood at my right hand.' And something, something, something. Oh, maid most dear, I am not here. I have no place, no part, no dwelling more by sea nor shore. But only in thy heart I see," said Calgary. "Yes, yes, I see." Perhaps they'll get married, said Hester, when Tina gets well, and then she can go out to Kuwait with him. Tina always wanted to be somewhere where it's warm. It's very warm in the Persian Gulf, isn't it? Almost too warm, I should say, said Calgary. Nothing's too warm for Tina, Hester assured him, and you will be happy now. My dear, said Calgary, taking Hester's hands in his. He made an effort to smile. You'll marry your young doctor, and you'll settle down, and you'll have no more of these wild imaginings and terrific despairs. Marry Don, said Hester, in a surprised tone of voice. Of course I'm not going to marry Don. But you love him? No, I don't think I do. Really? I just thought I did. But he didn't believe in me. He didn't know I was innocent. He ought to have known. She looked at Calgary. You knew. I think I'd like to marry you. But, Hester, I'm years older than you are. You can't really. That is, if you want me, said Hester with sudden doubt. Oh, I want you, said Arthur Calgary.